The LA Clippers could be in huge trouble with the NBA after this recent report. Welcome back to No Bias Hoops. Today we're talking about the LA Clippers and why their future could be horrible after this report about Kawhi Leonard. So a new report just came out that the LA Clippers have been circumventing money to Kawhi Leonard to get under the salary cap. And basically through a separate company owned or supported by the Clippers owner, they've been paying Kawhi $28 million total to do absolutely nothing for this company. He's not had any brand info with this, not had to mention it, do any ads for this company. So, and in his contract, if he leaves the Clippers, the deal is exterminated. So this clearly shows that if this report is legit, Kawhi Leonard has been receiving extra money from the Clippers under the table so that the Clippers can stay under the second apron while still paying Kawhi the money he needs. And this is very illegal. The new CBA has a rule stating that first offense the team will get fined 4.5 million and they could possibly lose draft picks, and the circumvented player could also have his contract terminated. What that would mean is that Kawhi would become an unrestricted free agent, and since no teams would have bird rights on Kawhi, including the Clippers, no one would be able to give him much money, so Kawhi would lose tons of money from this, and he would ultimately have to sign a way smaller contract. The only teams with cap space are the Brooklyn Nets. This happened back in 2000 with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They signed Joe Smith to a series of minimum contracts in order to get his bird rights so that they could spend more money on him. And this was deemed illegal by the NBA. They fined Minnesota 5 draft picks, which were just forfeited. They also fined Minnesota, and Joe Smith's contract was terminated. So eventually, they did give Minnesota 2 back because 5 first-round picks is an extremely harsh punishment. There's almost no coming back from that. But what this could mean for the Clippers, right? Worst case scenario, since it's their first offense and this was in the new CBA, worst case scenario, they get fined $4.5 million. Kawhi Leonard is waived and can sign with anyone. And they could potentially lose future first-round picks and second-round picks because the Clippers don't have much draft assets. And this would be horrible for a Clippers team that just brought in Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, and are kind of in this one last cry for help, hoping they can go to the NBA Finals with this roster. And while even that seems unlikely, this would be horrible for the LA Clippers. This is extremely illegal in the NBA. You cannot circumvent money because if this was allowed, what it would allow NBA teams to do is sign players through the salary cap and then pretty much just have the owners secretly pay them so that they could pay them as much as they want, which would mean teams with the richest owners would pretty much be able to sign any free agent they want. And this could be extremely bad for Kawhi Leonard because if his contract is terminated, which honestly, I don't think it will be, right? The whole Joe Smith Minnesota Timberwolves thing happened with David Stern. Adam Silver has not been one to harshly punish players or teams. So if Adam Silver really put down the hammer, Kawhi was waived, he could sign with anyone he wants. But if I'm going to be honest, Kawhi, to me, doesn't seem like a competitor. And that sounds wild. He won an NBA championship, but the guy never seems happy. And after winning an NBA championship, I'm pretty sure he's one of the only players in NBA history to be the star player on an NBA championship team and then leave in the offseason. That is pretty much unheard of. And again, it is Toronto, but he left LA, and with this money on the side thing, he went to the Clippers because they could pay him the most. And if he's really after money, that would mean that he would likely want to sign with the Brooklyn Nets. They're the only team with cap space. They could give him about $15 million. And it would make sense for the Nets, right? They get Kawhi Leonard as a veteran. Obviously, probably not the best role model, but he'd still be a vet. they don't have much vets on their team right now. So they get Kawhi Leonard as a veteran player, as well as a trade chip, because at the deadline, 15 million for Kawhi Leonard's would be sought after for many teams, right? So if you're Kawhi, you get the most money possible. You get to go to Brooklyn, which isn't a small market, right? That would be appealing to Kawhi. And then at the trade deadline, you have a solid shot of getting traded to a contender and going for a few, going for more money in the offseason, getting your value up, right? But the other options would be he could sign pretty much anywhere else for a veteran minimum contract, which means he could join the LA Lakers. He could join pretty much any team, you name it, right? There's a few teams who are over the second apron who wouldn't be able to, but he could go ring hunting. He could just go play with LeBron, go play with Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and, like, it would be pretty incredible, his opportunity, but he would lose so much money from this. And in a year where the Clippers look pretty solid, bringing in John Collins, Zubac coming off a career year, this would not be good at all for the Clippers or Kawhi Leonard, right? But the real thing is the Clippers here. The other thing that happened to the Minnesota Timberwolves, their GM was suspended. So this could potentially ruin the Clippers, right? They would have to get a new GM, lose multiple picks, be fined, have to waive Kawhi Leonard, and it would just derail their season because going from a team with James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, John Collins, Ivica Zubac to those guys without Kawhi, but at the same time, it just causes so much, you know, within the organization, right? That would be horrible for players knowing that one of your teammates was getting paid extra money on the side and they were willing to do that, gambling all of this, right? And no one's going to want to be a part of that team. It would really, really hurt the Clippers. They've been a part of a few scandals now. And really, at this point, I think the NBA does need to punish them. And I don't think they should force the Clippers to get rid of Kawhi because, if anything, that just benefits teams like the Lakers, right? That's only good. But we'll see what the NBA does. They said they're conducting an investigation currently, so it's going to be interesting what happens next. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time on No Bias Hoops.